storms in the Atlantic. Actually, only 2 of them are ones we really need to be concerned about. Lee, not so much. Jose, I think, is still going to miss the U.S., but Maria is a factor now, and you're saying, well, when did that become a thing? Earlier today, a tropical depression, now a tropical storm, packing 50-mile-an-hour winds and moving steadily to the west and, unfortunately, headed for the eastern Caribbean. In fact, there are hurricane watches in effect for Barbuda and Antigua. Not good news. Expected to become a Category 2 hurricane by Tuesday, possibly Category 3, and impacting Puerto Rico by the middle of the week. I don't like the end of the forecast cone because that's pointed toward the U.S. That's the wrong direction after what we've been dealing with. As far as Jose, it's still out there with 80-mile-an-hour winds. As the Hurricane Hunter planes are flying in and around it today, they did identify some information that helped refine the track. Good news, because it looks like the track will continue to be away from the U.S. Earlier today, the cone of uncertainty was touching places like Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, but now less so. Still going to see rip currents up and down the East Coast. We've seen that throughout the day today, but this is not a picture we want to see. Last time we had 13 named storms by this date on the calendar, Boris, was 2012. Remember what year that was? Sandy. We don't want to repeat.
Well, you hear us talk a lot about the models, the European versus the American, and how are they different? We're trying to model an atmosphere that has an infinite number of layers. From where we live to the top of the atmosphere is not 9, 12, 13 different layers. It's an infinite number, but you can't put infinity into a computer and expect an answer, because it will just hang up and keep running. The difference between the 2 models is trying to get a model run that's accurate and timely. Timely meaning we can't have a perfect forecast for a 2-day snowstorm, but it might take 24 hours worth of running the computer to get there. So is a 2-day forecast that's only good for 1 day, is that worth it? No. We try to get it to run in 4 hours or less. Now, the European model does take longer to run. There's more data in the European model, and so therefore it can be slightly more accurate. But the American model is pretty close.
Watch out.
You and your family need to be prepared for a hurricane way before it makes landfall. The number 1 thing you need to do, get your supplies. You need enough non-perishable food items for 3 days for each person in your family. You also need 1 gallon of water per day for each person. Also make sure you have plenty of batteries and a battery-operated radio, as well as flashlights. Chances are during a hurricane, you will lose power. In that case, your cell phone will lose power as well, so you'll lose all of your contacts. Make sure you make a list of all the emergency contacts that you'll need. Also, have an evacuation plan. Know your evacuation route and familiarize yourself with it. Lastly, get your home ready. If you have hurricane shutters, make sure you know where they are and you know how to install them. Also, prune your trees and gather up any loose items that can become projectiles. In the U.S., flash floods kill more people than tornadoes, hurricanes, or lightning. A flash flood creates a rush of moving water that can sweep a grown man off his feet, a car off the road, and even your entire home off its foundation. When the ground becomes so saturated that water can no longer seep into the soil, it begins to run off quickly into rivers and streams, and this causes a rise in water in a flash. Densely populated areas have an extremely high risk of flash flooding, with the additional concrete and less grassy areas for the water to soak into the soil, and they can see flash flooding very quickly. In mountainous terrain, the combination of gravity plus the easy runoff can lead to catastrophic flooding when all of that water is funneled into rivers, creeks, and even the valleys. Remember, flash flooding can happen in the blink of an eye. That's why it's important to stay alert and pay attention in case a flash flood watch or warning is issued for you.